All right, I think we are coming up on 6 p.m., at least where I'm at, Eastern time. So I will say good evening or good afternoon, wherever you're at, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Before we started the session, we were just talking about how this is such a busy time of year for educators. So we're really thankful that you chose to take some time out of your day to attend this session. My name is Ann Kushmiter. I teach sophomores, juniors, and seniors at Cadillac High School in Northern Michigan. I teach on-level world history with the 1200 course from World History Project, and then the AP version to my upperclassmen as well. Todd, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Ann. My name is Todd Newson. I teach in Oceanside, New York. That's on Long Island. It's about to be my 17th year teaching. And we've been doing the Big History Project course for our 9th graders for 8 years now. Before that, we had a Global 1 curriculum, relatively early history until 1750. We replaced it with Big History about 8 years ago. Haven't looked back. We love it. When I say we, kids, students, parents, administrators, everybody. And then 10th grade, we do the World History 1750 curriculum. And I always say we have a state exam, New York State exam at the end of 10th grade. And that curriculum aligns perfectly with those skills that those kids need. And we've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now, 1750.
I know Todd doesn't want to brag, but the students did like extra awesome this past year.
Thank you. All the students at my school, not just me. Thank you.
Mike, would you mind saying hi?
Do I have to? That's kind of a hard act to follow here.
I know, right?
So I think the only one upper I can say is that we've been teaching Big History for 9 years at Somerville. I'm also in New Jersey. So we've used Big History as a senior capstone, senior elective course. And we use the World History Project for our freshmen, for our World History requirements in the state of New Jersey. And we go Origins for the World History course. And I'm excited to be here.
And Megan?
Hi, everybody. I am Megan Schultz. I live and teach in Vineland, New Jersey, using the Big History Project and the World History Project 1200 course. And I also work for OER Project with professional development, logistics, and consulting. So I am just here for backup.
Thank you. So I'll be taking the lead on presenting tonight. Mike and Todd are chat moderators, so they're going to help me keep an eye on the chat and help give you all the links that you need for our materials. And Megan keeps the trains running on time for us. This evening, our goal is to acquaint you with the OER project and specifically the World History Project courses. By the end of our session, you should have a fairly good idea of the ebb and flow of each course. And then we'll also have an opportunity to dig into the first unit so you can start planning some logistics as we enter the school year. Then, of course, we'll give you some resources for how to get help as you actually dive into materials. So we want to be able to customize the session as much as we can to our attendees. So if you would, please take a moment to share in the chat, or with the size of our group, it's a fairly small group, you could unmute and share verbally as well. Please let us know where you live and teach, what brings you to the World History Project. OER Project has been around for close to 10 years now, so we really have a variety of people who've been at it for several years and just want to learn about a new flavor of the course, and people who are brand new. So if you could let us know any experience that you have, or if you're brand new, that's great too. And then finally, for a little icebreaker as we go into the school year, please tell the story of the world in one tweet.
See,
we're gonna make you think already.
I'm Alan Ashton. I teach in Utah. I teach world history. And the world in one tweet? Hopeful and hurting.
Oh, I like that. Effective.
Hi, I'm Janice Schachter. I teach on Long Island in New York. I've been teaching for a very long time, but I'm teaching 9th grade for the first time since since the curriculum changed 9 times already. So I was just kind of looking around for something great, and I came upon this. So I'm really eager to learn more about it. I'm going to have to pass on the tweet. I can't think that fast. I'll keep thinking though.
Janice, where are you from on Long Island?
I'm in Northport. Todd, I think you responded to one of my pleas for help on the community board.
Oh, okay. Do you know Casey Turk?
In Northport.
Yeah. Oh, she's in North Shore. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I see we've got another AP World teacher in the chat there. Is that Jill? Thank you, Jill, for being here. I think we've got a nice like East Coast, West Coast representation here. We've got everywhere from New York to Washington. And lots of you with many preps. I feel that for sure.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. I'm Martha Terrell Burris. I live in Lynchburg, Virginia. I teach at Virginia Episcopal School. I have taught modern world history in the past, but not recently. And I found out 2 weeks ago that I'm teaching it.
Oh, you love that. The 11th hour. Surprise.
I prepped all summer for US history.
Oh no.
So a colleague introduced me to this program, and so I'm taking a deep dive, but I'm very interested and think I'm probably going to follow it.
Well, we're happy to have you here. I hope you find what you're looking for. All right. And Professor Fukuda from Japan, he was at another session and was lovely. We were talking about how it's not always the standard for world history to be taught in other countries, which I guess I just never realized. And I think he mentioned that the Japanese government is looking to implement world history. So he's here learning about that. All right. So I saw several people respond in the chat. That's great. Thanks to those of you who unmuted. Is there anybody else? I just don't want to leave anyone out before we go on. All right. So we'll start with a brief overview of the OER project and then specifically the World History Project courses. First, OER stands for Open Education Resource, which means everything is 100% completely free. Sometimes you get the question, what's the catch? There's actually no catch. I really promise there is no catch. Sometimes it seems to be too good to be true, but it really is completely free. And not only are you available, like you have the option to modify things, you're actually encouraged to modify things. You can customize to your particular student population. And then we really encourage you to share what you've done because some teacher innovations have made their way into the curriculum because it's online, it's dynamic, it can be updated constantly with new improvements. So you are really encouraged to take this and run with it in a way that suits your students. We call this a modern day textbook, emphasis on the modern, because while you do have your traditional readings that you would expect from a textbook, there are some elements that definitely spice up this course. With the readings, they do have Lexile levels, which is fantastic for those of us who have struggling readers, or maybe you're teaching to younger kids, or you have some folks with special needs. Those adjustable reading levels really help all students read an appropriate level while still getting the essential content. And the readings also have audio recording. It's actually a human that read the article aloud. It's not like a computer voice. And that is for the top Lexile of each reading. And for my reluctant readers, I find that is really helpful, especially, sometimes history has some tough names to pronounce. And just seeing like, oh, this is an 11-minute recording gives them the confidence to know like I can do this. It kind of gives them the idea like I don't need too much stamina to accomplish this task, and I can hit pause whenever I need to. So we've made a lot of use out of those audio recordings. In addition to traditional texts, you're also going to find videos, graphic biographies, which are in the format of almost like a comic book, like a one-page comic. And so many students are reading graphic novels these days. I find that those are really appealing. You're also going to find primary source collections, activities, and writing assessments. So there's quite a lot more than our traditional textbook has to offer. On the right, you see the different flavors of the OER project. We'll focus on World History Project today, but you heard some of the other folks talk about Big History Project that they teach at other levels. We've got AP teachers, and then the Climate Project is a new rollout just this year. Something that makes OER project unique is there is a very heavy focus on skills, historical thinking skills like sourcing, comparison, causation, and they're rolled out very purposefully in a way that grows with the kids. Every unit is centered around essential questions, so there's that inquiry level that's paramount in many sets of state standards as well. OER project is very supportive of teachers, so you'll see lots of professional development options throughout the year, not just introducing the course, but also digging deeper into some of the specific skills. So World History Project is really focused on getting students to do the work that historians do. It is written with 10th graders in mind, but that is flexible. We have lots of folks who teach that higher. I've used some of these on-level materials with my AP kids, and they never blinked an eye. They didn't think it was juvenile or inappropriate. And some people will customize to teach younger kids. Megan has taught these materials with 8th graders and had success. So it really is very flexible. Depending on your set of state standards, you can have 3 different pathways here. The Origins course starts with early humans. And then there are also courses that start in 1750, which Todd uses, 1200, which I use in Michigan because our standards start in the post-classical era. And for those of you who are acquainted with AP, you'll see a really similar periodization scheme with the 1200 course and the AP course. Regardless of what pathway you take, the first unit is always very purposefully focused on laying out the foundation for the course, particularly with a focus on skills. So our thought this evening, since you'll be taking one of these 3 different pathways, is that we'll open up some breakout rooms, and you can choose the breakout room that matches the course you teach, whether it's Origins, 1750, or 1200. And then we'll spend about 15 minutes in the breakout rooms, 3 different rounds, 15 minutes each, doing a different task, diving into some preparatory materials with these courses. Does everybody know what course they're most interested in? Can we make any recommendations to anyone before we move forward?
Does anybody have any questions about the differences between Origins and 1200?
Well, I really like Origins. I like how it ties in, at the bottom of the teaching lessons, it'll have other resources. And I like seeing all the resources that come from Big History and stuff, because sometimes my kids like those explanations better, or those lessons are a little more, I don't want to say lower down, but a little more comprehensible for them.
Yeah, because Big History was written with middle schoolers in mind. So depending on the age and the readiness level, that can work really well. All right.
So I'll go ahead and create 3 breakout rooms.
Thank you.
So I'll rename them. All right.
And if anybody's Zoom doesn't cooperate, it's not updated to voluntarily join, you can just let us know where you want to go, and Mike will place you appropriately.
So it should pop up and give you an option right now to jump in either the Origins 1200 or 1750. Hey, Martha, do you need any help picking one of the rooms? Do we still have Martha with us?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just got a Mac and I'm learning how to use it.
You have a lot of change coming your way.
Yes, I
respect
do.
that.
If you could put me
Yeah.
in the 1200 room, please.
All righty.
I was thinking about making that jump, Martha, but now you're making me nervous. I don't know if I'm ready. So just to check in with the 1750 and Origins group, were there any interesting points of the conversation or any questions for the group as a whole before we go on?
On our end, we were really just, and this is what I love about this stuff, because we were just kind of like talking about like what that looks like in New York compared to where Caroline is in Arizona. So it's always just kind of interesting to see what you need to fit into a course and why you chose that course. So I'm sure we could, all talk about that, why you're teaching the specific course you are, but it was just a nice, productive conversation on that end.
Somebody in the 1200 room had used the urban game as their first exposure to the World History Project. And I know Todd's a longtime fan of the urban game. Mike, have you used that one too? It is a crowd favorite. So I think we can all endorse that to anybody who's maybe looking to take something for a test drive. That's a good activity to start with. Harried, but good. So our next round of breakout rooms is going to be used to explore the practice progressions placemat. That's always such a mouthful. There is one for each course. Again, this is a skills-based course. So especially as you're just getting acquainted with the course, like you don't have a concept of how your entire year is going to look. So this is a really nice one-stop shop for seeing how skills will be taught and will progress throughout the course. And, we all have limited time in our class. There's no way any of us can teach every single asset that is available on the World History Project website. So I find that this is a really helpful guide for helping me decide what makes the cut. Like if I want my students to be able to do causation for the Indian independence movement when they're learning about decolonization, I know we need to touch on that and practice it, at least a few times before that. So especially as you're getting hang of course, it's a nice way to help you develop a long-term plan. So if we can get those breakout rooms going again, then we'll share the links to the specific courses once we get in there.
All right, folks, it should pop up. Again, if you guys have any questions about which room you want to be in, shout out.
We got plenty of room in 1750. Feel free to join us.
Origins is the hot place to be.
Oh, that's 1200 all the way. Ride or die in 1200.
Martha, do you want me to put you in 1200? Yeah, I was mid-sentence. So Meg, we're talking about if, let's say we, missed the first CCOT lesson about Iowa farms. What up, Rachel Hansen? And I was making an argument that if you had the skills posters in your classroom, all right, you read the instructions, you could easily craft like your own CCOT lesson based on whatever content that you're in.
I agree with that. I think, the one of the good things I think about these skills activities and the progression is that you can pick and choose which ones are going to fit best. And so if you skip that Iowa introduction one, you can still use another one and just maybe scaffold it a little differently or modify it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, didn't you do something cool with CCOT about school, like from elementary to high school?
Yeah, only another world history teacher would call that cool. But
True.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so I always struggled. Even when it became like a skill that was important, I was like, oh man, I could, a lot of my kids were going, well, it continued and changed. It was like Bill and Ted, something they would say. And I was like, you're not wrong, but let's get a little more specific there. So something I came up with, I'm like, what's something that they could all share? We could actually have some fun with it. I said, think, I teach 9th and 10th grade. So I go, think to kindergarten to now, your education, what has continued, what has changed over time. And I just kind of made like an XY axis. And I go, continued on one side, change, or I guess the other way around, on the other. And then also the top bottom, was it a positive change or a negative change? Write it down on some Post-its. Everyone put 3 or 4, share a couple on the board like that. And that really helped. One, it's just nice cathartic experience for kids, what's working in school and stuff like that. Everyone's got, that's what I love about it also, that kid can know nothing about history, but they have something to share. How could you not have something to share when you're either praising or mocking education? But that helps. It becomes a reference. Like a lot of these activities that you just looked at, it becomes a reference for the rest of the year when you're talking kids about industrialization or war or any type of issue. Has it continued change, positive or negative? Think back to your own education. So yes, and that's the cool activity I did. Thank you.
Were naps a continuity or a change?
What's that?
Were naps, like taking nap time, was that a continuity or change?
Definitely positive. I mean, I would call that positive on my end.
Yeah. That's really
I
cool.
used to always tell my kids, like when they were resisting rest time, like you have no idea how much my high schoolers would covet a nap right now. You don't even know how good it is until you don't have it anymore. Did anybody come across an activity in the progression that they're excited to try out?
I've never actually done the contextualization, the beginning one with the French man in the photo. So, and then, I did appreciate your little video on contextualization. I'm going to use some of that. Thank you.
Yeah, as you can tell, I do a lot of practice on that because it's a tough skill for students, but it's also so gratifying when they get that because it's, the ultimate ability to make connections. So thanks for watching that. All right, we have one final round of breakout rooms. This time our goal is to explore Unit 1. Regardless of what course you're in, Unit 1 is the one that lays out the foundation for the historical thinking skills. And perhaps even start roughing in some plans.
I'm going to ask the other groups in case they had that same issue. Did anybody else try to go into the questions to see the unit end questions or whatever for each lesson and not be able to see them either in teacher or student mode? Or is that just us 1200ers?
See, you should have joined the 1750 group, like I was saying. No technical issues over here.
I know, I feel like I talked it up and then look what happened. I don't know, Megan or Todd or Mike, have any of you guys had any issues with those practice questions?
Which questions are
I
those?
can't
The
say I
multiple choice?
have
Okay.
the practice questions at the end.
Like at the end of an era or in each lesson, it has those 5 just kind of comprehension questions.
Yeah,
We're having a hard time accessing those.
when you're in the lesson itself and not from the unit page.
Yeah, I think that matters, right?
Yeah, right. You need to be in the actual lesson.
I even assigned them and went into student mode, and it doesn't even show up as an assignment for the kids. It's not there. So I can't see what they are before I even assign them. They can't see it. So I don't know. Luckily, I have 2 weeks to figure this out, but anybody else?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look
Yeah.
right now, and then we can always email the team and see if they have a fix for that.
Are the questions also on Khan? You get them from there? Are those the questions?
There are questions on Khan, but I'm not sure if they're the same ones or not.
Yeah.
All right, we are kind of entering our last phase here of this session. So, we've thrown a lot of information at you. We want to give you resources to continue to get support, and then we'll have any additional Q&A that you might have at the end. Frames did come up in the 1200 room because, we're cool like that. And the importance of rolling those out at the beginning. That was a great question somebody had, do you lead with frames in unit 1? And the answer is yes, I absolutely do. In fact, in the first year of teaching, I was like, I don't know, are these really a big deal? And I realized, like, yes, they are. Get after those from the beginning. So right away with Alphonse Camel, we're rolling out frames. And we've got an article in the chat that will give you a deeper explanation of what those frames are. The analogy of looking at the world through like different colored lenses is really useful because the frames do have some overlap. So again, you'll see those pop up in assignments throughout the course and throughout the readings. So that is a pretty foundational component. If you are looking to do some more information about your selected course, I'll see 1200 right there on the screen, guys. I'm telling you, it's a good one. There is a self-paced PD module, actually, for all of the courses. And it has blog posts, links to community conversations, videos about all of the essentials in teaching this course. The nice thing is that it's totally asynchronous. You can do it at your own pace. You can go in order. You can just skip right to the topic that you need, whatever it is. There's stuff in there about 3 close reads, about setting up a class. Those are some conversations that came up in our breakout room. So any of those specifics that you might need are available. And the best form of PD, our online teacher community. This has, people are just so passionate about teaching world history. It's really refreshing. If you have a question that you feel like, oh, I don't know if I should post that. Like people probably already know that, right? It's just because I'm new, I don't know that. Fear not, there's actually a forum for newbies. Feel free to introduce yourself, throw out any questions that you have. Somebody mentioned reading strategies. It's a great place to have a conversation about note-taking, reading strategies. And I think you'll find that people are exceptionally pleasant in this community. Sometimes that's hard to come by on the internet these days, but people are incredibly helpful and prompt in their response.
I would just
say Mike or Todd, somebody like back me up here.
No, I would just add, because we were speaking about it in our room, I was sharing it in the 1750 room, that with the community, it's helpful for everybody, but it's particularly helpful if you are, let's say, the only teacher in your school using these resources, teaching this course, or even in, you know, something broader in your school district or county or state, I don't know what, but we hear it all the time that those teachers that kind of feel alone are then connected through the community, not just by the people they find that are close to them geographically, but by teachers that are just all over the place, wanting to share their ideas and share questions. And what's so cool, and what I was sharing, is that people are so comfortable there that you often hear like Twitter people saying, hey, look what my kids did, look what my kids did. Here, it's more like, look what my kids did, what the heck happened, what went wrong? And that's what I love about the community, that, and I've been trying to do this much, like, hey, look, I'm proud of this. Look at these 5 kids did, but these 5 kids clearly missed the mark. Anybody have an experience? Anybody have any help? Who can help me out with doing making this better next year? So that's what I love about the community. It's fun. It's responsive. People are, you know, there's humble people, and we're all vulnerable there, but we're all willing to share. And it definitely got us through the beginning of the pandemic and all those really scary COVID years. And what are we doing at home? And how do we teach this stuff? We were all connected that way. And like we said, you find people in your state, in your community, certain people, your grade level. There's one for homeschoolers, there's one for middle schoolers, and certainly the 1750 and the 1200, the origins. And then there's a broader community too, all around the country, all around the world, teachers who love teaching and want to share their ideas.
I just want to jump in real fast. The link that we posted to the community takes you to an after party discussion for this session. And if we hear from you in that discussion, there's a link you can click on, and there's a form to fill out, and you can get some posters for your classroom corresponding to the course. So very exciting. So hopefully you guys are clicking that link and signing in, and we're going to hear from you, and we're going to keep the conversation going after tonight, and then you get some posters.
I just put my AP posters up today, and I'm saying they're really pretty. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they are pretty.
Megan, when we get an answer about those practice questions, do you think we could put that on that same thread so folks can
Absolutely.
access
And I
information?
did, I tested on my class and I was able to see them. So I am going to share my screen when we're all done, and I'll walk through and see if we can figure out what was going on.
Okay, or maybe if it was just 1200, since that's still
Yeah, and
kinda new.
I went to my 1200 class, so
It was good. Okay.
I was
awesome.
fine. Yeah.
Thank you. And then for kind of playing the long game on professional development, that tab at the top of the website, highlighted there in the yellow box, is a great one to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this or not, but we do have some sessions coming up throughout the school year that are specifically focused on different skills. So, you know, contextualization, comparison, those things that you saw on the practice progression placemat. You know, if it feels like a lot your first year, totally understand that. Maybe you just pick a couple of those skills that you really want to focus on. One of those sessions might be helpful for you. In the summertime, there's a big conference too, the OC for Social Studies in August. We just wrapped up the 3rd year on that. Again, totally free. If you need the hours, you can do your paperwork and get the certificate to get some hours. So keep an eye on that for upcoming PD opportunities. Again, always totally free. So with that, we have a survey to get some feedback on the session, and we will hang around for any Q&A that you have. If you feel like that's all the information you would like tonight, totally understand that too. So I will say a huge thank you for coming and giving up time out of your very busy August. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for doing this. It's fun to see it, especially these onboarding ones with a little more time.
It's fun to hang out with people who love to teach world history because, well, like Todd pointed out, I'm nerdy like that. It's okay.
Yeah, you do find your tribe, like especially on the community. You know, it's just like other people that like, hey, it might be a slow Tuesday in your classroom, and you can find other people that are excited about their job.
And we keep it really light there. There's history, jokes, and people just kind of saying, I'm fed up. Who can get me through the next couple of weeks or months or the whole school year, you know, sometimes. So it's a fun place to share ideas.
Yeah, and there's caretakers of that community, right? Like your questions are never going to go unanswered because, you know, the project's intentional about having people who want to answer those questions there.
I thought this was fabulous. Thank you so much. I just
Thank you for coming.
answered the poll saying what I'm most excited about is the community. It was so nice meeting all of you and your enthusiasm and your knowledge and it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will see you
Thank
in the
you, Janice.
community. We'll meet
Yeah.
again.
Also, I spent like the first 45 minutes trying to figure out what word you were saying. When you were saying Iowa, you kept saying the Iowa lesson. And I finally figured out you were actually saying Iowa. There's an Iowa
You're like, you don't know me anything.
I will say I've done some of the online classes you do at your own speed, and they're very helpful as well.
You know, those came out after my first year of piloting. I thought maybe I don't really need to do those. What am I going to learn? I still learn stuff. There's a lot of information in there. So I was glad I did them.
You could go back many a time.
Yeah, it's true. And I do. When I need a little refresher on something, I pull those back up and search for what I need.
Okay, so I'm just testing out the practice questions for 1200, right?
Yes.
So when I go to the lesson, now it wants to go slow. Right, I'm getting the questions. Did you not get them?
We were trying to do them from the unit page, I think, and
Yeah.
from our student view. So the preview, that's what we want. You're right.
Yeah, so you always want to do from the lesson view.
When I did it from, so I could see that in the actual lesson, which I thought we could edit them and like remove some, but I guess we can't. But when I went into I signed it in the class and then went to the student view, they do not show up at all. Like I could not find it, but I don't have.
Did you open them up? Did you hit assignments? So see where you have a tab for students and then assignments?
Yes.
For your assignments, do you have to open them up?
I was gonna say, I looked in there and it showed me that and it said close and then I reopened it or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then I went into the student mode and looked at courses at the lesson and it's not showing up. It shows you all the other pieces of the lesson, but not that. But it could, yeah, I did the assign thing, yeah.
I'm just working through it. Let's see what happens when I do this, right?
It's also possible because I haven't started school yet. I haven't had any kids add in, so it might be that.
So that might be it also. So let's see if it works for me as a student.
I mean, I've been playing with this since I found out I was teaching history. See, I can't see that.
Yeah. So maybe because if we don't have any students assigned, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, none of that came up because I wanted to see what it actually looks like on their end and it wouldn't show it. And we can't edit these, right? It's the 5 and that's it. If I want to tell them just pick one if we don't do one of the readings.
Yeah, so what I find, at least for me, what I think works best is I take the questions and put them into a different format for my students, because I don't do every activity or read every article. And so that stops them from getting questions that they didn't interact with, content that they didn't have during our lesson. So I'm one of those who goes through them and just kind of moves them to a different delivery system.
Yeah, same here. Or if I'm like stuck on a review question, I look at those for inspiration and then put that into my Kahoot or wherever we're doing.
It's probably a good community post. There's probably someone who's done all of the questions and we're all like doing the same thing over and over again.
I do wish they were more customizable though. That's good feedback.
Yeah.
I just ask, Anne, you said you're teaching AP World, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be my second year teaching. Are you going to be using the OER Project course?
Yeah, so actually it's gonna be my 3rd year because I did the pilot in the alpha and beta forms.
Okay.
And had great experience with it. Now
Okay.
there is some overlap with the 1200 course, but there are some bells and whistles in the AP course, like primary source collections and the pieces, themes, spice tea, whatever you want to use.
Right.
It's totally aligned. The folks at the OER Project did a syllabus and
Yeah.
it got approved as a College Board textbook. So it's, you can do that instead of your Stearns or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have the document ID number as well now to make the audit process easier for the syllabus.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to go on to College Board and check that out. Yeah, because that was my second question: is what textbook do you use? But clearly, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Great.
when the switch was made to modern, I felt like even the textbooks that said they were modern, it was just
Yeah.
so rushed that they really weren't.
Right.
So, to have the opportunity to pilot come up when that switch was made was an enormous asset.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it to be public now. I'm really excited to see what people think about it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited to infuse it this year a little bit, and then maybe do the switch if I want to. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's so flexible. You can definitely pull, because anybody who's been teaching AP for a length of time has their favorites and their go-tos, and you're still going to use AP Classroom and all that, but you can start pulling in some of the readings and activities.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, great. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
there are PD sessions for our AP course. Next month, we have an info session, and the following month, we have an onboarding session. So
I will sign up.
you'll get to
We'll
see
see you again.
Great.
We'll be old friends by the end of this.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm glad Leanna brought up the reading. It's not AP related, but I thought I'd share that, like a lot of us, we haven't bought a new textbook in about a decade in my building for teaching world history. And we have 450 kids in each grade. And not only that, we don't even distribute the old ones anymore. And I think the kids appreciate it. I certainly appreciate it. Certainly the people in charge of the budget in our district appreciate that also. But in the end, it really, that's what I'm saying. Like in the beginning, I said, like, everyone kind of appreciates this course in some capacity. But the articles, and the coolest part is they keep coming, right? Like every year you take a look at the website, there's another new article there on this topic or that topic. So I know AP, you guys had that conversation there, but for non-AP, yeah, all the readings, that's our textbook.
Yeah, I would
And the
just say that
topics go up through like
Amazing.
Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's very current when you get into globalization.
and just the intentionality of like having so many different perspectives, right? Rather than like the same 12 academics who write every, world history textbook. And all that stuff is published with the article if you look on the bottom. So my students enjoy finding who wrote the article and doing their own claim testing.
And
it's
because
cool 'cause
those
they see-
folks participate in the community and, sometimes that lead these types of sessions, people are like, you met that person? Really? Like they're a celebrity. Although I feel a little bit guilty for my junior US history teachers because then my kids will like critique the textbook and accuse their US history textbook of being, only one point of view and too jingoistic. Sorry, guy. We really went big on that sourcing and critical thinking.
So here's a question. Since everything is digital, but we don't have textbooks, what is the ratio and what you guys print? I mean, we got restricted on the photocopier and printer. So
Same.
are there specific activities you stay strictly online versus ones that you actually print out? I assume the maps you probably print out for the kids to work on.
My rule of thumb is secondary readings are digital. Like a DBQ or primary source, something where I want them to really read closely and mark it up, that's going to be printed. And anytime that they need to do like a writing and access the document, one's going to be a hard copy because I don't want them to click back and forth. So yes, maps, I'm putting the digital maps in my Schoology, printing out a hard copy. If they are doing, like primary sources, something where I want them to really be an active reader, maybe get the old fashioned highlighter out, that's going to be a hard copy. But they're traditional, like, hey, we're just reading this article about the Industrial Revolution, that's going to be just on their screen.
Yeah, I try to use, we're one-to-one with Chromebooks, so we're kind of lucky there. And I kind of use some paper, kind of like in Symphony, in a way that like the kids are looking at the article digitally. I posted a PDF of it there, and then they have the paper in front of them of the 3 close reads. And that's what I kind of got that from students. I was doing it digitally, I was doing paper. I'm like, well, what works for everybody? And that was kind of the majority rule, that when it's digital, they can look at it, they can scroll through, they can highlight, touch it. And then in the end, just having like a pen or paper, writing down the stuff was actually a little more helpful as opposed to just going back and forth with screens. Again, any good teacher knows, like, you're going to do what's best for your students at that particular period and year. And that's what I've seen for the past 2 years. So I post the article in Google Classroom and I'm giving them a paper for the 3 close reads.
I know, like in my
Or-
district, we're definitely like our copying's curtailed, and like they don't really even fix the copiers that often. Ever since
Oh.
going 1-to-1. So
Ouch.
Amanda, is that feasible for your school to do that much printing? Because I know some of that stuff would be tough for me.
Well, we are 1-to-1 as well.
Yeah.
So we can print, but like we have to use a code. But as you said, the printers are never fixed. They're printers
Yeah.
/ copiers. But all the other history teachers I know are the ones printing out They have books and are printing out stacks of paper to hand out. So I'm like,
Huh.
am I going to be doing something wrong if I'm not killing all the rainforest? Like, I don't.
So it sounds like you do have some flexibility, which is good. Yeah.
And there are some things like the maps are zoomable, the graphic bios have such beautiful art, the DBQs have a lot of graphs that are in color. So those things are always, going to be digital, or the DBQs, like I'll give them a hard copy to annotate, but I tell them, you probably want to look at this PDF because black and white, seeing the colors on the graph, that's not going to fly.
Right.
So it just kind of depends on the type of media.
So if you assign, as Todd was saying, you signed the articles via like Google Classroom, because that's what we use.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the drop down for the reading levels, does it? Or do I have to post 4 different ones plus the one with the voice?
The
So
students actually
Like
toggle.
my students
on.
figured out pretty quickly, they can do that drop down themselves and customize it.
Mhm.
However, if you specifically want them, so from Google Classroom, it just links to the article and it will default to the highest Lexile, but then from that drop down, they can customize. Now, some teachers want to direct them to a certain Lexile and not give them a choice. So what they will do is make a PDF of that Lexile and then download, upload. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I'll
one
have-
thing to know is that audio is only for the top Lexile.
What I'll do is, my students actually aren't on the website that often, other than my 9th graders who are using Project Score, who are doing writing with it. My 10th graders, it's pretty rare because for them, it's just easier for everybody, actually. If I'm putting things on the Google Classroom, why go there? So they haven't really caught on about that. Can I bring it down to the smallest level or lower level? But what I'll do is, it is a little extra work. It's a couple minutes. I'll put on whatever I think is appropriate. And then for the, let's say 3 or 4 students that I know need a lower one, I'll just kind of email them that version without everybody knowing, and it can help them. So like I said, extra, 5 minutes, but it's going to help them.
Amanda, one more option, you were talking about reading strategies. At the top of a unit, and this might still be forthcoming for 1200, but at least in other courses, it says text reader. That's a Microsoft Word file with every single Lexile level for every single reading in that unit without the pictures. So if you want to print, that'll save a lot of resources to just do the words. And especially if you have some struggling readers, you just kind of want to simplify that or have them do an annotation without those images. That's a really useful file.
So I am like, some of you may not have heard, I found out 2 weeks ago, I'm teaching this class. And this is all new to me because I'm old school, have a textbook, test and quizzes. So there's a lot of change going on. I am required to give an exam or a major I'm required to give an exam one semester, and I can do a major project at the end of the second semester. And I haven't had enough time to look at the content. Will I be able to build towards some sort of exam since I'm required to do that?
Yeah, do you think like one of the DBQs could be at least a part of that?
Yes, it could, come to think of it. Okay, yeah, that would work.
And Martha, I would add this, that anything, we were saying it before, that anything that you can't find on the website, you introduce that question in the community, and without reinventing the wheel, if you said, is there anybody have an exam on whatever topic? If I had to guess, there's going to be some teachers who are going to say, yeah, sure, here, take this exam. I used it. Use it how you want. Take what you want out of it, and there you go.
Great. Okay.
I think there were some conversations about a cumulative final project that was really reflective that popped up like around May last year. So even if you use that search bar, you might get some inspiration for that project.
Okay, that sounds good. And then my first 2 weeks on Unit 1, I have 6 classes. And for 1,200, you would suggest frames and Alphonse the Camel.
And that map activity intro, it's just fun.
Okay.
And if you look up, there's like a crazy long Welsh city name. There's like a 30-second clip on YouTube of a meteorologist pronouncing it just flawlessly. I guarantee your kids will get a chuckle out of it.
I've seen that. That's really fun. Okay. Well, this has been very helpful. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Will you be having other sessions for 1,200?
So throughout the year, we've got the ones coming up on skills.
Okay.
Since this was onboarding, this is kind of as deep as it goes, unless we're getting into that self-paced.
Okay.
Megan, you're kind of the pro here. Is there anything else you can think of?
So it's course specific. There's nothing else that we offer other than that teaching world history project 1,200 course. That's like the self-paced
Right.
course. So other than that, we do have a skills clinic coming up in September on reading and using the 3 Close Read tool, which is helpful as far as like introducing some skills, but nothing that dives deeper into the course itself.
Okay.
There is a forum though for the 1,200 course in the community, and then there are even like unit breakdowns. So that is an option if you're just like, all right, what are people doing with Unit 5?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
what's a must-do activity in Unit 3?
And
that's a nice place to have that conversation.
there are course plans. There are, like state standards alignments for a lot of our states. So I don't know if you've seen those resources yet.
I'm at a private school, so I have a lot more independent.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
A lot of, okay. So a lot of flexibility there.
we can print unlimited.
Well,
You're living the good life other
I
than
know,
late
right?
notice of
Well,
teaching the course.
I will be doing duty tonight and tomorrow night until 11:30. So.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, and actually, I've got to go run to duty. So, but thank you very much.
I was going to say, I hope you get a nap in before that.
Reach out to us if
Thanks.
you need
Take
it or
care.
have any questions.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's see how do I get out of here. How do I get out of this?
Bottom right, look for the red leave button.
Bottom right.
I mean, we can remove you. I just don't want to be rude.
Why don't you remove me? That would be helpful.
That's it. Get out
All
of
right,
here.
then we will gently and friendly, do the remove button here.
Thank
Meg's
you
the
very
bouncer.
much.
Thank you so much for all your information. And the time zone thing totally messed with me. It doesn't say the time in the email, which reminder email. And then I was like, oh yeah, it says it's from 3:30 Pacific time to 4 or 5 or something. I was like, okay. And then I'm like, what? It already started.
And I'm like, I am a certified teacher of geography. Why can't I figure out time zones better?
But also, my name might look familiar. I was the girl that asked about the notes.
Oh yes, when you said Latin, I thought, what? I think I've seen her. So thanks for being
asked about the notes, and then it got put in the weekly newsletter, and I was like, yay!
See, you're famous already.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of the suggestions I got from that. That was great. Although I'm finding a lot of people that are teaching 1,200 are teaching either 8th grade or 10th grade, and I'm doing it with 9th grade. And hopefully I can finish it in 1 year.
I teach it to 8th graders, but they're technically enrolled in their 9th grade high school history course because they're accelerated. So yes, they're 8th graders, but I'm supposed to be teaching at a 9th grade level.
That makes 100% makes more sense in my brain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you